LPL squad, because they've now guaranteed that Nidalee will almost nearly always be banned. And I think that was a big, I guess, upside for how mlxg did play yesterday's games, even though one of them was a loss against Counterlogic Gaming. Really targeted bans actually out of RNG's lineup as well, giving Naru and Dumbledoge the respect they deserve on these pick-style champions.
Definitely agree, but it does still leave up the support Poppy. It wasn't banned away. Dumbledoge's probably most famous support.
He's also got the Elise. He played that a little bit too.
Yeah, he's hovered it. I don't think he's going to go for it, honestly. I like Maokai for Thaldrin, and honestly, with Ekko and Poppy still up, there's like not a lot to pick for the top lane, so they're going to grab the early Lucian instead and make sure that Achuu can have a decent laning phase for himself. It says picking that has been locked in, though. That Maokai is there, and it's Royal's pick right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's actually a really clever switch here from SuperMassive, so showing their adaptability in the draft. I mean, we've already seen Stomaged play the likes of the Gragas and Elise, so he's definitely comfortable on these junglers, so they get pretty much the best top laner in my opinion, especially in a teamfight meta. Up there for Thaldrin, who has shown that he is a great teamfighter, very safe. Also a powerful AD carry for that 2v2 lane.
And I just like the fact that Maokai does bring the reliable crowd control. If you TP in with an Ekko, you still got to land the parallel convergence. You can outplay it. Poppy has to find the wall stun. You can flash that. But Maokai is guaranteed lockdown. And so I know you were talking in rehearsals about wanting to see Lissandra come out from Naru at some point. And with a lot of targeted CC, you can find those pickoffs, and SuperMassive can maybe break this game open a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly can. And Lissandra, to me, has been a little bit underutilized because she does bring the best. She's a pushing 1-3-1. She doesn't really pressure turrets, but she will shove the lane quite hard and then can telefight and have immediate impact, which is something that you always have to look for in a mid laner that teleports into these team fights. Gangplanks, you know, Azir, they have to have setup time to be able to get there. Lissandra arrives and delivers instantly.
And especially, you consider the fact that Azir will have to run cleanse into the match if you can have a teleport advantage. Try to make plays elsewhere on the map, and just maybe SuperMassive can find those edge cases. The Elise hover the Thresh as well, and looks like they are going for heavy pick potential. All of these are crowd control focused champions. To me, this screams Lissandra.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that now vision control becomes key for SuperMassive. If they are able to make any area of this map dark, they can just set up for their style of gameplay. I mean, we've seen them unsuccessfully try and do it a couple of times against G2, but have pretty good early games with it. Powerful laners, as well as the potential to rotate into that pick.
Absolutely agree. We haven't seen much of the Royal bot lane just yet. The Twitch is up and was considered sort of a counter to Lucian in lane, but it is always scary playing Twitch into a Thresh. If you can't dodge the hook, you're almost guaranteed to die.
Mata hovering. He's covered a Jace support, of course, that we saw in the Demacia Cup last year. Don't know if that one's going to come out again.
I do, and I'm going to say no.
No, yep, good, thank you.
Yeah, that's going to be my guess on this one here. They do need to still pick themselves a top laner, and there is a Rumble hover, but no, Ekko seems much, much more likely. Poppy's always a chance, but there's the lock in on Ekko. And to make their final seconds choices, 2 to go. I think Twitch, though, is the pick here, and Woosh will play Twitch. Again, with a Braum and an Azir to help keep him alive, honestly feels pretty good.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think that really the only team that has seemed to favor Poppy over Ekko right now is CLG, I think it's fair to say. When you see Darshan's proficiency on the champion, I definitely respect the decision as well. But Ekko seems to have a cleaner 1 or 2 item, whereas Poppy is just that powerhouse the later the game goes. I like it against LeBlanc, however, because it just shuts down so much of the aggression. So I still think Poppy has its place, but in this game where LeBlanc isn't probably going to be taken in, although potentially could in the pick.
Yeah, we need a mid laner either way, and now it's the choice to go for. And we had thought about Lissandra a whole lot, but we haven't seen a lot of people really going for the counter picks in terms of playstyle. We see Assassin into Azir, but we haven't seen the Vel'Koz, we haven't seen the Varus just yet, but this hover is one of these champions we used to see against Azir to try to punish the matchup.
And this is what Kobe was talking about. Where's the Varus, the Vel'Koz, where's the Cassiopeia into Rise? Like, these champions we know are tried and true in the current meta and can perform. And it looks like SuperMassive agree. No, they don't.
No, they don't. They hovered it for a while, but they actually just want to go back to that same playstyle. Play an Assassin into an Azir, Naru on the Zed, but now this puts, honestly, a pretty small clock on the game where you will lose team fights to Azir, Braum, Twitch later on.
Yeah, but thank goodness there isn't a Kindred for the complete shutdown. I think that he will move away from hunting to the Zed to hunting out Wuxx as the game progresses. I mean, it was always kind of said as long as Zed is in the meta, Kog'Maw, Twitch really do struggle to find their footing because they don't have a way to get away from him. But that is quite a strange composition to pick Zed into, at least in my opinion, because Zed kind of thrives by himself. Maybe they can set up some picks in the rotation in the darkness, but I don't know if I completely agree with it over something like a LeBlanc if you do want to run an assassin.
It's a lot of single target-based champions, and you don't have a TP mid laner coming in unless Zed wants to go teleport mid, but currently he's got a Knight for himself, so strange comp coming out of SuperMassive. They're going to hope they can find something to do here in this one against the heavy team fighting of Royal Never Give Up. We are here into the last day of the group stage of Midseason Invitational 2016, and you guys at home tweet hashtag RNG win or hashtag SUP win for which team you think is going to take this one home. I have a feeling the Western fan base probably votes for SuperMassive. It's fun to vote for the wildcard teams, though, but the Chinese Royal team, clearly the favorites coming in.
Yeah, they certainly are, but SuperMassive, definitely an endearing team, making fans around the world. They're such a good group of guys and playing the game at a very good level coming into this tournament.
Definitely agree. So the lineup's on your screen, the players loading in, and, well, it's no surprise that China, the LPL, owns the Rift. They won the head-to-head before. And the lineup on your screen, the red floor beneath everybody's feet. And we are into the game. Here we go to start the day out. Royal from China versus SuperMassive from Turkey.
And I want to see whether Royal still pull a quirky level 1 with Twitch as well as Braum. They like to set up some traps for their opposition. You actually heard Afro mention it in his kind of little speech about Marta, and CLG have done a good job of replicating that success, so SuperMassive have to be on their toes here.
Well, first bit of damage to xiohu, 100% of damage to champions. Never mind anymore. Uh-oh, Stomaged gets stunned up, exhausted as well. The flash to follow, and he will be stunned up. There's the level 1, there's the hit over the wall. Not for securing first blood for wuxx.
And people will look at that, and it really started with xiohu. He forced back the Zed, allowed the duo lane to sneak into the river brush, undetected, and that just meant that Stomaged wasn't ready for an extra 2 people to show up there, flashing out a Fog of War. Such a good level 1. Now with Summoner Spells down, you do expect them to want to lane swap this, but that's an early huge advantage for the Royal lineup.
wuxx getting 400 gold to start the landing phase out, gets a longsword and a potion if he wants it, but he's actually going to stay up there due to how they want to play the lane swap. So wuxx will not get a catch or capitalize any of this gold, but he will be heading top lane, which means it's a 2-on-1 lane. I think that's advantage to Royal. Honestly, they're not only better at lane swapping by a little bit over SuperMassive, but the 2-on-2 matchup would not be good for them here.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't. You kind of have to look at the Graves and the Elise as well.
And he's spotted. So Twitch is going to fight him. A flashless Elise has to run away from his own jungle to start it out, and gives a nice, happy, healthy Elise to the Royal duo lane.
Yeah, so they're able to take the little ones away as well. That was greedy, starting on the top side of the jungle after you knew that they'd set up vision there. So
totally agree.
Stomaged gets punished.
And he's going to be late around his jungle. Meanwhile, mlxg and Looper were just simply duo jungling. Thaldrin pushing as hard as he can, but now getting flanked by this. He knew they were up there as well. He wanted to shove the lane, but a nice dodge there. Royal don't have many summoners up, but Mod was able to land the auto attack, which means Thaldrin is caught out here. Takes a whole heap of damage. Not going to choose to flash the wall. He will go for another kill. Huge misplays to start the day from SuperMassive, and Royal are crushing it.
And they knew that they were still in the top side of the jungle. This is just SuperMassive not respecting the Braum Twitch early power. And Looper joins the push straight away to try and get it rolling. We've already mentioned that Twitch maybe not the quickest pushing AD carry in the game, but with Graves, with Ekko being able to help him out, this should be quite a quick 3v0.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too big of a problem for them. Eventually, you're going to see Maokai join the rest of his teammates at the bottom side of the map. And they will probably equalize the turret score, but nice, healthy 900 gold lead for the Chinese squad thanks to this early game.
And let's talk about what this does to the mid lane, because all of a sudden, if Azir can get there uncontested, you know, start getting some levels, doesn't have to burn a summoner spell in what is a kill lane of a Zed and an Elise ganking him, that's just so good for xiohu. I mean, we've seen this matchup a few times, and the Zed does seem to win out early.
Yeah, but not like this, though, with no threat at all of Stomaged being anywhere near. Stomaged, for some reason the R just shows up in my head for some reason. Yeah, bot lane turret will go down. Stomaged gonna actually run through the bottom side of the jungle. No big surprise there. It's a lane swap. mlxg couldn't take those camps away. Top lane turret will die pretty easily. Looper will be getting solo gold on that one. And as far as tempo goes, those turrets are dying at very similar times.
Yeah, but 2 kill advantage. xiohu needs to be careful here, because there are 2 people below him, and he's walking to the wrong side of the lane.
And here comes the Thresh. Here comes Stomaged on Elise. No flash for Cocoon, and xiohu gets to walk away with, despite having no mana at all, couldn't dodge away from it.
And that's important, right? Playing towards the strong side of the map, you know that you've got multiple members up there. I mean, mlxg was doing the Rift Scuttler. He still has double buff and has had a quite successful early clear. So that's smart play out of RNG. But honestly, like, this is things that would go wrong in the LPL for the team. They would lane swap properly, but then make that one mistake and lose everything. So it's quite promising to see them being able to clean up their gameplay.
Well, here comes the nice little attempt by SuperMassive. Ekko does have teleport, so Looper can come down to help the team, but looks like Super going for a 3v2 in the bot side of the map. Even though they could get behind wuxx and Mata, who don't have a turret, they haven't pulled the trigger. They could have just literally walked behind them through Tri-Brush. Now they're waiting until they push even farther to remove some of their attempt to go away. Now Mata's going to face check, gets cocooned. Here comes the attempt to deal damage to Braum. A hook in as well. The flay, the shield comes up. He's going to take a lot of punishment, but damage back out of Stomaged. Mata still will go down. wuxx is alone. Looper finishes teleporting in, goes for the stun, and everything dives into Stomaged. Gets the kill, turns one around, but now Thaldrin back onto wuxx, gets the root, will be getting the kill. A 2-for-2 overall, but now Naru's here. This could be advantage, and it will be SuperMassive 3-2 in that fight.
So a patient setup out of SuperMassive, and they get their targets. However, mlxg looking for Naru.
Naru, he's not watching. He's got to run away from this one. He's not going to get away in time. The red buff takes him down. mlxg slays Naru.
And all of a sudden, all of that hard work becomes undone because there is a 20 CS advantage in the mid lane for xiohu. But this is a patient setup. Nice job of using that pick that we mentioned out of the Elise, out of the targeted CC of Maokai, and they execute beautifully on this. I mean, great repel. I actually don't like Luba's target prioritization here because he chases so far and kind of leaves wuxx for dead, which means that they trade very evenly in what was an early game that they were winning.
Because they probably could have killed Thaldrin and saved wuxx, you're right.
Yeah, so Thaldrin instead gets a double kill. He's now back in the game after being heavily focused out, and that is a mistake out of RNG, but honestly, mlxg kind of saves it here.
Yeah, saves it. Naru, you can see how long it took to realize what was going on, and that Q hits way too early.
Naru's a window shopper.
Yep, sadly the case. And here we go, an attempt in the top lane. Achuu is going to get away from Looper's stun, but it's still a level 5 Bomby Cinder double Thorns Ring Ekko, who can walk back to his turret safely. Still a 1,000 gold lead right here. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm watching the wrong side of it. It's the Sheen and the Ruby Crystal on Ekko. I'm all kinds of terrible right now.
Actually, a really greedy build out of Ekko because he's going with combat as stats here when he's going to be against not really all of that many people.
Oh, Azir comes in from xiohu, wants Naru, who's forced to jump away, but he's flashless thanks to mlxg's gank earlier, and he will be going down. Another kill picked up by the Chinese jungler.
And this is dangerous because you need a snowball Zed mid lane. Maybe Stomaged needs to get there and give a little bit more focus, but xiohu's kind of having his way with Naru right now. They're going to actually even trade out a mid lane turret, which is hugely... Oh, that's just so not good for SuperMassive.
It's a lot of bad things at the very least for them. They were able to pressure the top side. The Twitch solo push by wuxx only really has attack speed, so won't be killing that turret very fast, so it should be a turret trade at the very least. Top lane will be going down, and Thaldrin will accept the experience here. So the kills are still what's giving a lot of money over. And I take it back, the bot lane did go down. Twitch plus the minions was enough, so it's multiple extra turret kills. Stomaged now finding mlxg, who's able to jump away in the back towards his side of the map. Dumbledoge can look for the hook. Mata tanks it with a shield up. He's in a decent spot here as Looper's not far away. Yeah, I don't think there's much more SuperMassive can do. They've got to respect this kind of damage output. The flash actually out xiohu in here as well to deal some damage. Thaldrin forces a flash as soon as he engages back in. There's a loss of summoner spells for SuperMassive, but now Achuu finding wuxx, who has to flash away. We'll see if that chase happens. Looper does go down to Stomaged, so a nice re-engage by SuperMassive. wuxx does limp away safely. Achuu burned flash to get nothing done. He could have just let him go.
Yeah, he certainly could have, and he probably should have because he has a BF sword. He just regained control of that lane. He can freeze up nicely for a couple of waves, maybe try and deny the Twitch or Looper respectively.
So he's pushing instead, which surprises me a bit. I don't think he's anything to push for.
Yeah, especially because, you know, they've already lost all 3 outers and they're not really in a position for Zed to go to a side lane just yet. They probably do want to turtle this one up for another 4 or 5 minutes, get that completed item and see what they can get done. That's, once again, a little bit disappointing out of the RNG lineup because mlxg was xiohu was obviously, like, very clearly pinging his team back there as Naru will escape there. But they just continue to fight, and the tankiness of this Maokai, who did go the early tank items, was just able to absorb so much of that pressure and continually re-engage.
You mentioned the greedy build by Looper. Sheen has no defensive combat stats except for, I guess, cooldown reduction to have your shield come back up again, and lo and behold, actually gets killed. Only level 5 on this Ekko. Dirt, certainly not tanky yet, but now building towards the Spectre's Cowl to deal with Maokai and Elise. We'll see which lane matchups end up lining up, because the thing is, if Thaldrin matches up with wuxx, he's got a chain vest. If Looper matches up with Achuu, he's got no armor.
Yeah, and Achuu's already shown that he's not really all that scared of the members of RNG right now. So they will continue to just try and press out and shove these lanes. Naru's the player on his team that's in trouble. Everyone else is kind of within touching distance. I mean, Stomaged also a little bit struggling. But honestly, the top laner and AD carry right now for SuperMassive should be where they are trying to play around, get them the advantageous side lanes.
And the problem is it's just not been good for Naru. 1-2-1, down 34 minions against his opposite member, Mata, clearing some wards away and doing just fine. mlxg just invading right into the face of the SuperMassive, taking the red buff away. Looper's there to help support that as he's level 6 and nearly immune to dying. And yep, mlxg grabs the red buff, nicely done there. Stomaged actually just sitting there watching the entire time red buff was dying. He just stood there saying maybe they'll misplay and the red buff will kill them, and it didn't happen. Thaldrin down a level under Looper, forced out of his own jungle as well.
Yeah, so top side of the map firmly belongs to RNG right now. However, on the bottom side of the map, Achuu is 35 CS over what the LPL considers an advantageous lane for the Twitch that started off with 2 kills.
Problem is, wuxx is ahead in gold because of the extra turret kills, because of the 2 kills and assists that he has right there. I would still take BF Sword versus Hurricane and be happy to be the Lucian here, but wuxx is honestly not in a very dangerous spot here, so he'll get some farm back. He's got most of his team's gold lead, and Achuu recalling on a ward, has to jump away. He'll be okay.
And I was wondering whether they were going to still go the Hurricane build. I mean, they're going Hurricane into Youmuu's right now, into Infinity Edge, instead of going for something like a Blade of the Ruined King when you don't have the Kindred on your team. I agree with the build if you do have the Kindred, but I think it also might be one of those things where if you get caught out at the later stages of this game, like when you're 1 or 2 items by the Zed, you have significantly less dueling power.
Definitely agree, but as long as wuxx can get himself a Quicksilver Sash 3rd item, I think he'll probably, especially with an underfed Naru who probably can't even kill a melee minion by himself without some supervision, I feel like wuxx will be okay. And it'll be a very mid-game spiky team, right? As soon as he maxes Contaminate, the Hurricane bolts stack up, he hits everybody for like 500 damage on a nuke, that'll just win you a mid-game team fight. And so I agree, like it's a little bit risky. If Naru were doing better, this would be a rough situation for wuxx, but it's a mid-game spike he's going for, and right now this is going to be totally fine as long as Royal can close that game out from the mid-game lead. They're certainly winning right now. 3,000 gold lead for the Chinese squad, which will lock in the #1 seed heading into playoffs, and they would even have to beat SKT to stay #1 later in the day. Yeah,
and that's where Royal can start, showing new things. I love the fact that they've stayed very consistent so far, but Royal can play multiple styles. So if they do win out on this game, lock in #1, I would love to see them play another early game comp. Like, do they show SKT that they definitely have more than just this brawly team fighting meta?
I would honestly wait if I was Royal, right? One thing that's happening in the group stage, Kobe was talking about it on the analyst desk, we haven't seen a lot of really different picks here, right? Cassiopeia into Ryze, Vel'Koz or Varus into Azir. At this point, a team like Royal should just save those picks for playoffs. And if they play SKT or they play CLT or whomever in the semifinals, say, oh, by the way, you think we're going to pick LeBlanc here. Just kidding, entirely different composition. You weren't ready for this. And at this point, strategically, that would be the sort of outlook I'd be looking for. But either way, we're looking pretty far into the future. And right now, it's about Royal just playing a reasonably clean game. Some mistakes, certainly, that SuperMassive capitalized on, but a game that they are winning.
I like the fact that they slowed it down, right? They opened up the map early. That would be in the advantage of the pick comp, especially now that they've wrestled control of their own jungle back. I mean, props to SuperMassive right now. They've got the defensive line of wards through the middle of their jungle. That means they can start to push up. So, honestly, RNG, wow.
Well, looking in onto wuxx, exhausted his reminder to keep himself alive, and Achuu has to force a flash away. Stomaged very, very low, and Dumbledoge will likely be the first one to be killed. mlxg kites away, Mata gets the slay. Actually takes down a fellow support, and this late TP by Thaldrin just in the middle of the Royal lineup. He's forced to run, and now here comes xiohu. A great knockback takes down Stomaged, and by the way, Achuu still forced to run away. He will be going down. A double kill for xiohu, making the flank happen. That's a 4 for 0.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying that right now, both teams should just be content to farm up, because if they ever do go aggressive here, SuperMassive, they still are weaker, and xiohu just able to absolutely light up the backline.
Great mistake by SuperMassive. You mentioned the fact that they had wrestled control back of the top side jungle, not the bot side. They dove well past what was safe. Turns out all of RNG was there. Now we're seeing the attempted play there to take down wuxx. He nearly gets the damage, but it's not going to be enough. He ults the wrong target. Actually hit mlxg. wuxx lives with 100 health, and didn't need it.
I actually think that was a little bit greedy. He thought he could make the play where you kill one target, jump to another to make your grand escape. Instead, he gets neither there, Naru. doesn't even ignite Phreak to just secure that kill.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was honestly like, this is just one of those little mistakes. I mean, we saw Kickers make a similar one on the first day in the turret dive. When things are going wrong, they just really go wrong for you.
And they really have. Now, a 5,000 gold lead already is huge at 14 minutes. Rift Herald going to be an easy one as well for Royal Never Give Up. Chinese squad looking to lock in #1. That's pretty likely here. Watch that fight again. There's no word because they have no idea how close everyone else is right here.
So as soon as they're in, you can see that there's already a split. The teleport actually completes right here.
Before Thaldrin even starts his.
Yeah, and that's just crazy. Then Thaldrin actually completing out on his own teleport. That's a little bit, I'm going to say questionable, and xiohu just showing what the Emperor of Kurima can really do when in the hands of a master.
Definitely an incredible player, xiohu, a great mid laner. It's nice to see him have a standout tournament. We haven't really seen him in international competition. A lot of times it's hard to watch Chinese League of Legends. People don't often know who the big Chinese stars are. And it's nice to see mlxg and xiohu really have huge breakout tournament.
And consistent performances. I mean,
yeah.
The team that xiohu was on, Gamti, they really did wait for him, and he had some great performances against Masters 3 and Dade in particular, which people will be familiar with, so that kind of speaks to him. But mlxg was the same. They beat out EDG when he was on King, coming into the LPL, and then kind of flopped as EDG won out on MSI last year, so not performing to his skill cap either. So these young Chinese players, now with the leadership of Mata, they kind of call it the classroom environment, definitely showing that they can get it together consistently at the highest level.
And something I really enjoy about high-tier League of Legends is it happens a lot with teams, but also with players, where you line up with the right team, the right player, and they start teaching you how to play the proper game, and you can be a great sort of matchmaking player, and then you join a competitive team, and you get the right tutelage, and you start skyrocketing to the performance. And so what happened with Royal Never Give Up, really. Most of these players, I should say 3/4 of these players, kind of not very notable.
And look at what their champion pool was. I mean, mlxg was like a Lee Sin player. Like, Lee Sin Elise, he wanted to carry when it wasn't a carry meta. I mean, xiohu, he was a LeBlanc Z main when he was known by Angel Beat, so they very much were solo queue style players, and now they're playing control mages, like very stylistically meta-appropriate champions for mlxg, all patch long, so really does speak to the evolution that has come out. And you can see that they're just that step ahead right now, that little bit more classier and polished than what this supermassive team can bring.
Yeah, definitely a pretty polished lineup here. Great collapse in the bot lane team fight earlier. Now 4 turrets to 2 in this scoreline here. And those 2 turrets were only even because of the lane swap game. They've really given Supermassive almost nothing to do here in this match. 7,000 the lead here. xiohu continued to just beat up on Naru. And look at the damage up in here. Has to force the death market. A perfect Emperor's Divide. Soldier's already there on the other half of it. Beautiful play by xiohu for the solo kill. Now stuck amidst a lot of enemy champions. A great hook comes out. And yes, that will be execute. Stomaged gets one back. Actually an advantage to Supermassive because of a shutdown gold, but still looked way classier from xiohu.
And honestly, that's one of those times where you can accept that xiohu went for the play, but maybe a little bit unnecessary. The rest of the lanes aren't pushed up. They don't get any advantage from 4 people collapsing mid lane. So actually props to this Supermassive lineup, because you can see that Naru really doesn't have any chance in a 1v1 team fight, but 3 members rotate quicker than their counterparts for Supermassive, and you can see that they really are starting to get that team play rolling on the international level.
Oh, nearly got away from the hook. He nearly lived. Although I think Thaldrin would have caught him at the backside.
And they're the 2 players that I really want to talk about right now. Thaldrin, who had a really sloppy early game. He's back within touching distance, 2-3-2, maybe a couple of mistakes. Achuu, he's still up 20 CS. He's doing really well in this lane swap situation. So there are individual standout players right now for Supermassive for people to be able to look towards. It's just that their mid lane and jungle fell so far behind because of an early, I guess, greedy path out of Stomaged after already giving up first blood that just set the tempo of this entire game.
Yeah. To talk about Supermassive a little bit, since it'll be probably the last game I get to cast them this tournament, still a better team than people had expected. Honestly, coming in here, they were a real threat. They took down Counter Logic Gaming, which was a great win by them. They've had a number of close matches. Okay, yes, they're outmatched right here, but you were seeing them keep many of these teams very close throughout the early and mid game. There were definitely some winnable matches for these guys. If they can't close one out, they are guaranteed 6th place, as G2 owns the head-to-head tiebreaker, so they can't get out of 6th even if they win later on in today. Supermassive still, I think, doing better than Turkey did at last year's MSI. And I want to see more of them if Turkey can requalify for Worlds.
Yeah, and it's the little things, right? Like last MSI, it was very much about, you know, we're just here. We haven't really done it before. We're here for the experience. This year, Dumbledoge came out and said, I want to be known for something that wasn't killing Faker. I mean, I think we use that to death, but it just shows that the change in the mindset of that this guy is, he's here to play and win now, and it has reflected in their gameplay because they're drafting really well, at least in my opinion, and they still are playing to their compositional strengths.
Definitely are, but now you're seeing some strengths come out of Whoosh. A lot of damage down to Dumbledoge, force a flash away. Nice shield by Mata, blocks the culling, and he's going to be all right with that. But 7,500 gold lead now, Royal. Really not taking any major damage, just pushing again, looking for the next turret to kill. They've stacked 2 dragons already. Baron's up in 25, and maybe they find another assassination.
And look, Royal did the hard work against CLG as well and threw it all away. So pressure's now on. Like, we know that they can get early gold advantages. We know they're talented individual players. We want to see more of the discipline, more of that refined style that we saw against SKT the first time this team played them, and the ability to not go for the over-aggressive plays and respect your opponent.
And they gave respect right there. They run away and don't get caught out by Dumbledoge's Lantern gank thanks to the Elise. Gonna be just fine getting away from that one, but now the attempted Baron, a nice little sneaky play by Royal Never Give Up from China while they're dueling distracts on the bot side, and then walks away cleanly. The Azir turret falls down in the mid lane. No one is the wiser. This is gonna be a clean take. Well done right there. Baron at 20 minutes for Royal. 10,000 gold lead. All that's left is just to attack move into the base.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be pretty clean right now. That's actually really smart out of Royal. I mean, they knew that SuperMassive were looking for the pick on the bottom side of the map, that's where all their vision was concentrated. They hadn't been on the top side for about 5 minutes. So, you know, a good play, but probably SuperMassive probably even at the back of their mind were like, we have to get the 2 kills because they're doing Baron. But there's just nothing they can do about it at this stage.
Yeah, nothing anymore. Just the gold lead's too big. So, Spawn, I have a did you know for you.
Okay.
So right before Baron Nashor was killed, mlxg took the Rift Herald. Did you know when you get Baron, you lose the Rift Herald buff?
I did know that.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like, what would the creeps do? They can only be so
that would
purple,
be awesome.
Creep. They just get even bigger.
You just turn into Barney the dinosaur. Just as purple as possible.
I like the fact that that is actually across both America and Australia there, so I actually picked that one up.
Good, I'm glad.
That was good.
I'm glad I could find a suitably purple character that you knew about.
Yeah, whereas if I said Harold the Giraffe, you would think I was crazy.
No, I just think that was cute and Australian. Or maybe it's Kiwi, I don't know.
I think it's actually both. I hope so.
Okay.
I am Oceania after all, you know.
Yes.
Try and get the Kiwis.
Doesn't matter which country. Which means you're also notable for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, definitely. I would take responsibility for that scenery.
You will take responsibility for Lord of the Rings.
Not Lord of the Rings, the scenery.
Like, the scenery.
Obviously, the cinematography that shot it. But yeah, the actual the wildlife in both New Zealand and Australia is spectacular.
That's true, but oh, look at this spectacular. There's the ulti on a Stomaged, forced to run away. Achuu dangerously low as well, and rat-a-tat-tat coming out from Whoosh, dealing plenty of damage, and well, it's just going to be SuperMassive able to walk back into the base, staying alive, but they are getting strangled out of this game. It's a 13,000 gold lead now. Top lane out of turret went down. A great 1-1-3 style push coming out of Royal.
And that's crazy because they're not the ones with the Zed. They've got the Azir in their lineup. They should technically be forced to group here, but they just have far ahead.
Oh, well, forced to get hooked in, and Mata taking plenty of damage, but Stomaged couldn't get it across. Mata's going to survive as somebody coming out of Whoosh to keep his support alive. Only one death for the Braum, and now into the mid lane they go with no Thresh to stop them. Thaldrin in the front lines, but Looper is tanky, happy to walk forward. They land the stun, the tree is going to go down, and everyone's going to hear him in the forest. Now the inhibitor will fall next. No one to really stop them. Oh no, actually they're going to give up a little bit of control, but a few more attacks should do it. mlxg will take it down. Looper TP's back in, and now it is a 5 versus 3. Into the front line he goes, can't kill off Wuxx. Q does off the ultimate. Achuu goes down as well. Stomaged forced to run. Looper gotta run away through the ignite. Stomaged will be next off, falls down out of the turret. Elise will just fall off, legs pried off as well, down to the last few Nexus turrets, and in a blistering fast game, only 23 minutes, Royal Never Give Up from China secure the #1 seed into the playoffs.
Yeah, and that was an important game for Royal against what is the 6th place team now officially at the tournament. They're able to close it out. You can see on your screen, all business right there. Like, not really the big celebration. They know that they dropped the ball yesterday, but back to playing great clinical League of Legends today.
Absolutely the case. Really good early games, good early pressure, capitalizing massively on the mistakes by SuperMassive. You can see Dumbledoge on your screen there, knowing, all right, 6th place is the place for us. They still have one more game to play to come out with a win, and that record 2-8. And Royal, of course, will have one final game against SK Telecom T1 from Korea, which could be a preview of their semifinal matchup, actually. And honestly, Royal owning that 2-0 feels like a good confidence boost coming in.
And more importantly, like, MSI, EDG versus SKT, I mean, the start of the rivalry was already there, and then RNG taking out SKT, the favorites, that is well and truly a rivalry. Like, if people think that that game is just going to be a throwaway game, I really would question it, because RNG are a proud team. I mean, this is an organization that's been to 2 World Finals.
Yeah.
They lost to SKT in one of them. They do not want to give that team anything.
I mean, honestly, yeah, China, since last year's Mid-Season Invitational, okay, they won that, but ever since then was basically laughed at. Only one team made out of groups of the World Championship. LGD continued to do really badly at IEM San Jose. Then, you know, we saw them just continue to do really poorly throughout the various international tournaments we did have ever since Worlds. And now back here, China once again back on top. The question is, can they keep this form?
Yeah,
right?
and that's always been the big question. We know that the raw mechanical ability of Chinese players and the Korean imports that they brought over, top percent. We had questions about their teamwork, about their communication, and most importantly about their consistency, because some games pop off and go absolutely berserk, but other games, like, we've seen some crazy stuff in the LPL. It's a very long season, so I think that the focus is important. The fact that they clean out up the wildcard region, like, very disciplined play, not overreaching at all. I think that's a great sign for the LPL as a whole, that we're starting to learn these traits.
Definitely agree. And I think also just talking about Chinese League of Legends with all these Korean imports, I was normally not a fan of bilingual or trilingual teams who have to find these weird ways to communicate with each other. But as time goes on, you know, these players learn a little bit of English, the Korean players learn some Mandarin, and it gets a little bit easier over time. And you find systems that actually work for these teams.
And it's really funny, because Aaron was like, they need enough communication to be able to talk to each other. I'm talking about EDG's coach, by the way, guys, on Summoner's Rift, but not enough communication to be able to fight with each other. That's he was like, for League of Legends, for young League of Legends players, this is a perfect balance, you know? They need to be able to communicate on Summoner's Rift, and then only through their coaches and translators when things start going a little bit wrong, because it actually brings everyone down when you have to speak through someone else. I mean, a lot of the passion goes and you just speak about business, and that's what they said about EDG going into MSI last year, and I think that is something similar that we would have seen out of RNG this year.
Well, Royal never give up, doing a great job here in this one. The Chinese team securing a #1